You ever heard of the term dirty boxing? If you've seen literally any fight in UFC history, you probably have. You know who you have to thank for that? Randy Couture. He's known for making dirty boxing a common term in MMA, much in the same way Dana White has made glazing a common term in MMA. A lot of fighters from previous generations would struggle to transition into the current fight game, in my opinion. Besides the natural evolution of any sport with the passage of time, what was important in the early days isn't really what's important today. That being said, Randy Couture is one of the few that not only do I think he could have been successful in today's UFC, I truly think he could have been champion in today's UFC.
He likes to grab the back of your head and punch in the face.
Wrestling in general is the best base for MMA, both in terms of effectiveness and longevity. It's pretty difficult to take significant head damage when you're the one in top position dishing it out. Tying into the point about longevity, Randy Couture didn't retire from the UFC until he was 47. I'll repeat, 47. What's the secret? Well, it's simple. He found the fountain of youth. Nah, part of the secret is going to practice every single day. Guys from Team Quest hear about your quote-unquote fight camp and scoff.
Some guys, they spend 8 to 10 weeks in a training camp, whatever that is.
Another part of that secret, his fight style. Randy's entire game was based around two things, wrestling and the clinch. Well, aren't this part of the same thing, Gage? Normally, yes, but the reason why I'm separating them is because of how Randy implemented the clinch in his strategy. How have 99% of fighters in the past used the clinch? As a means to an end with the takedowns, or as a desperation defense from striking? Couture loved using the clinch as an extension of his striking. Clinch grappling normally gets boiled down to reaching out and grabbing the opponent, and sure, that's obviously a factor. Randy would throw these hard shots behind your ear, but rather than pulling the punch back after impact, he would leave it there, grab your neck, and transition into the clinch from there.
You can see here that after weaving, he throws a left hook and leaves it attached to the back of the neck, establishing the clinch from where he can throw uppercuts.
I'm trying to think of a rough comparison for this. I know Ben Askren did some similar stuff when he was forced to stand against Damian Maia, but generally speaking, I can't think of anyone who uses this as a primary method of attack. Maybe DC? A little bit. Expanding on that, Randy Couture is what we call a Greco-Roman master. Greco-Roman wrestling bans all holds below the waist, and therefore emphasizes collar ties, balance control, all that kind of stuff. Mentioning these factors is a good time to add that the UFC is a cage fighting sport, and what you have is a recipe for 5 rounds of getting your face and body shoved against the cage, getting pulled around and having your posture broken, your gas tank getting drained, and the second you move off balance, you're getting tripped and have to build yourself all the way back up again. Randy was one of those guys that would even take you down, let you back up, only to take you down again to try and break you mentally. The whole Team Quest squad were a bunch of bloodthirsty grinders. Randy, Dan Henderson, Matt Lindland, Evan Tanner, and of course the greatest fighter in human history, Chael Sonnen.
And the way I thought it worked was that if you tapped, you lost that round. So I thought what they would do is they go to a judge's decision, they go 4 rounds to 1, and we go home and I'd be the new champion.
Randy might be best known for his schoolyard bullying of James Toney. I mean, brother, that man had a family. Nah, really, he could have made that so much worse if he wanted to. Guy took all the disrespect in the world from James Toney. In return, Randy gave him a 6 October he'll remember for the rest of his life, tapped him out in 3 minutes, gave Toney a lot of credit in his post-fight speech, and did it all with class and a smile on his face. That's one of the reasons I've always had a soft spot for Couture. There's a lot of cage fighters in the sport. Randy was a mixed martial artist, especially at a time where more guys were taking the Tank Abbott approach, if you will. But I always loved watching Randy fight. He had a really unique wrestling style, and he's a perfect example of a fighter that made guys quit. You saw person after person step up to him, 100% sure they wanted the fight, only for that 100% to be drained out of them like a battery, or like Zayde from Repo the Genetic Opera.
It's the 21st century.
Couture is one of the best wrestlers in MMA history, undisputedly. A more than earned Hall of Famer, and a true pioneer of the sport. A real Mount Rushmore kind of guy. Dana White might hate his guts, and I mean, hey, that just means it's Wednesday, but I absolutely refuse to have his career fade into the background. He's an all-time great. Top 10, top 15 in my book. And truly a fighter that transitions well between time periods, from an era full of fighters that wouldn't.